A motion by Helmut.
Welcome to Minutes by Minute. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Dave Kennedy.
And we're here to talk about what goes on in the village, the township, you know, those government entities, people that make laws and regulations that affect you out there.
That's right, Elgin. And whether you live in the village of Oxford, the village of Leonard, Addison Township, or Oxford Township, these are the people that last November you went unelected, and the committees and the commissions that make decisions that directly affected you, whether you chose to go to that meeting or not. And the result could have been a taxing situation.
It could very well be. And you know what? If you don't attend these meetings, there's some humor in every meeting, and it'll usually come back and bubble to the top and possibly bite you, right?
On the nethers.
But there's other things that happen too, and we do it pretty much on this show, and it's called rumors.
Ruma.
And he more so than me.
Hey, I only sort of, flesh out the idea, and then you go, yeah, that's a good one.
Just like quail. There it goes again. So you folks, you kind of have to look at this presentation that we're giving you as far as what went on in the meetings, and you have to kind of, dissect information that you find prevalent to what you believe is true, right?
What he's trying to say is this is a subjective summary of the village and municipal meetings that occur.
It is, and it's pretty much 99.9% pure.
Subjective.
Subjective. Okay, well, let's talk about a couple of meetings that went on, shall we?
Okay.
That's why we're here, right? Okay, the Oxford Village Council meeting is the first one we're going to talk about, and that was May 21st. We're going to also talk about the May 21st Village Downtown Development Authority meeting that occurred.
The DDA.
DDA, Downtown Development. And on the Oxford Village Council, of course, we have Suba Sardit, who's the chair, Eric Dolan, who's the vice chair, Dave Bailey serves on that board, Maureen Helmuth, and of course, Joe Frost, the latest individual. And a couple of other people were present at this meeting. Joe Madur, who is the village manager, was there. Mm-hmm. And Drew Benson, who is the assistant village manager, actually. He used to be an intern, but he's graduated now, got his degree.
Is he officially the assistant village
manager? Well,
I
think he's doing things for the village yet. As a matter of fact, we'll talk about that in the DDA.
Okay. All right.
Because they made a motion to retain him for a certain project.
Okay.
Okay, Bob Davis, of course, the attorney was there. They don't go far without Bob Davis.
No, he's an institution around here.
Pretty much. Institution. Okay, yes.
That kind of institution.
Okay. They did the pledge, of course, and got pretty much all the preliminaries out of the way. They approved the agenda, presentation, Main Street, Oakland County. John, a representative from Oakland County, made the presentation. I think his last name is Bryden.
Okay.
And 25 communities, he pointed out, are active in this accreditation program that they have. And there's an annual evaluation, which he pointed out as well. And by the way...
Are we in the throes of it now?
We are not only in the throes of it, but we are approved, accredited.
So we've been thrown.
We've been thrown, yes, we've been thrown on Main Street. I hope the trucks don't get us, but anyway, a plaque was actually presented to Suba Sardit and Glenn Pape, who is the DDA director. Mm-hmm. And it's the, of course, verification of the accreditation. And very nicely done. Suba Sardit, the chairperson, she commended Joe Frost, who did a great job as the DDA director prior to Mr. Pape coming on board.
Right.
Yep, and he did a terrific job. And also she wanted to mention Dorothy Johnston, who has done a lot of work as well.
She's from Johnson Photography.
She is, yep, and she serves on the DDA board as well.
Yeah.
So anyway, after all the accolades were given, we went and decided to sit down, and a nice thing, that plaque. As I say, there's 25 communities which are active, and being one of those that are recognized by the Oakland County is a great feat.
Well, good.
Okay. So, next they had a call to the public, and there was no comment from the public.
That's shocking.
Right. Approval of the consent agenda was next. Correspondence, there was a letter of resignation from Joe Bullen. Now, we've talked about Joe before.
Really? Joe's resigning?
Joe's resigning from the Zoning Board of Appeals. Now, I'm trying to think, Maureen Helmuth made some very nice statements about Joe Bullen. Apparently, she worked for Joe when he was the village manager. I don't know if you're aware that Joe was the village manager.
No, how long ago was that?
Well, that's a number of years ago, but you know, he served in a lot of other capacities too. I believe he was on the Zoning Board of Appeals now.
Very community-minded guy.
Planning Commission. I think he was on Village Council for a while. He's
Valuable
really
asset.
served the community well. Yep. So anyway, with regret, they decided to approve Joe's letter of resignation, and I got
And the
it.
search is on.
And the search is on. Yeah.
They don't have any candidates.
And actually, the search is not on because they did approve Rose Bema as being the new chairman, or chairperson, I should say, of the Zoning Board of Appeals, and yours truly would be the vice chair.
Okay, but does that leave one person?
No, it's filled right now. There's no
So
openings.
Rose wasn't on the ZBA before?
She was, but they have 5 members. Actually, what they're trying to do is reduce the size of the board. I
Well,
believe
that
it's
helps.
Yes, I believe it's 7 members required now, and they want to reduce it to 5 members on the Zoning Board of Appeals. And
Okay.
that goes through quite a process and has to be approved, of course, ultimately by the Village Council
Okay.
to go forward, as well as the Planning Commission. So anyway,
Well, you're-
that's what's in the works.
You're just a fountain of updates.
I'm just bubbling over, yes. We got it. So anyway, after the letter resignation, minutes for May 8th, May 15th, 2018 was approved. Bills for, get this, $69,498.45. There's a
Yep.
roll call and it was approved. Unfinished business. They wanted to note that the PEG fees, they expected to keep the 2.5% and not send them to the TV station.
Wait,
Yes,
franchise fee.
yes, and they said PEG fees, and they kept referring to PEG fees, and PEG fees are
Peg
something.
fee's got a one-way street. They go straight to the station
Right, tell us why.
because it's mandated by the government.
Right, and what they're actually talking about is franchise fees.
Right.
Which is a
They
whole
get
different.
5% there, but we're retaining 2.5%, and we get 2.5%.
But they're gonna make a motion on PEG fees. They don't understand that it's franchise fees that they're making a motion on, so.
And that needs to be a correction made to the minutes.
Yeah, is that, right, I was gonna say, is that an authorized approval then by the end by referring to PEG fees? I would think it
Well,
would be,
Well,
because it's
no.
franchise fees.
It's franchise fees. That needs to be corrected.
Right, I agree. You send them a letter, will you?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, take a note.
Take a note.
Okay, we'll go on with this. Anyway, they feel that 2.5% should be used for roads, which is a good thing to do, but
They had to justify that.
Maureen Helmuth, she spoke up and she says, I believe the village should be self-funded. That it's clear that this money is not village money.
Well,
what
there's
she
always
said.
been that discussion of taxpayers' money. Well, technically, this is not taxpayers' money.
And it's not tax to begin with. I mean, if you look at the definition of it, it is not tax according to the government.
Therein lies the rub.
Yeah, and Eric Dolan actually objected to that and said he considered it as a tax. So he still hasn't relinquished the thought that this is not a tax, that it's money that comes back through franchise of Charter and AT&T, right?
Yeah, just because you name it that your budget doesn't mean it's really the same thing.
Well, if it goes bad like a sheep, it must be a sheep, right?
Right.
What does a tax say? Ouch. Anyway, this is not a tax, a little more comfortable to take. But let's talk more about that when we come back right after this. Welcome back to Minutes by Minute. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Dave Kenny.
And we are talking
Nice little
about.
pause there, by the way.
You like that pause?
Yeah.
I was waiting for you to jump in there, but you didn't do that.
No.
Didn't have anything to say? Oh, yeah, right. Right.
Go for it.
Go for it? Okay, well, we're talking about the village council meeting that they had. And the thing that came up was the franchise versus PEG fees. You know, what are they? How are they defined? That kind of thing. And I think you beat that one up pretty good.
Yep.
They voted, in other words, to keep the PEG fees, which is incorrect. It would be keep the franchise fee, half of it, which is 2.5%.
Right.
And it ultimately was approved, even though they weren't voting on franchise fee, apparently, in this case. So they need to get it right. They need to adjust their minutes accordingly, probably.
That's like revising the speed of light.
Speed of light, yes, it could be.
I don't like it. It's too fast.
Yes, too fast. Let's slow it down. We could do that. Monthly budget report and amendments. There were none, so we go on to the next stage, and there it comes. It's not a train, but it's a stage. It's coming. Village 2018-2019 budget, and because the last fees were discussed, it was approved
Okay.
by everybody. Also, purchase tax for closed property at 17 Pleasant Street. I don't know if you're aware, but Oakland County was doing a foreclosure on this property and asked if the village would be interested in purchasing property, this particular property piece. Well, the question came up from Joe Frost is this really a foreclosed property? Because he said the lawn is manicured, taken care of. Somebody's putting new windows in the building.
Are taxes being paid?
That's a good question. And so Joe Madure said, well, I will check into it, because he said, I was wondering about that too. And he said, occasionally, you know, people.
Is the term foreclosure also used when a mortgage is not paid?
Yes,
But also when taxes are
when
not
taxes
paid?
are not paid. But apparently this is a tax
The
issue.
right one don't get you, the left one will.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of right. But I want to say that the Oakland County was responsible for putting this thing up for sale. In other words, making it available,
So that's
supposedly.
taxes.
Right. So Joe Madure, village manager, is going to check on it and see, did this get lost in the shuffle or what? You know, is it really a foreclosure? It should be readdressed.
Right.
Good idea, right? All right, tree removal was the next subject. Don Brantley, of course, is the DPW supervisor. And he said there are roughly about 15 trees that need to be chopped down within the village, and probably 5 smaller trees that need to be removed. And also the stumps need to be ground, that kind of thing. And so they said, well, who do you suppose should do this? And he said, well, there's one contractor we've used for the last few years that's very reliable. Cost-wise, they've been very competitive, I think, in their pricing. So he said, I would suggest we stay with them because they pretty much know the village. And he said he has actually shown these trees to the company, you know, that he would intend to remove them. And so after a discussion, they said, well, it wouldn't be necessary to have 3 bids then. According to recommendation from Don Brantley, they would go ahead and proceed with just the one
Right.
applicant. So that was approved pretty much unanimously. American Legion Parade is coming up, and actually
That's Memorial Day?
Memorial Day, which is Monday, May 28th. Is that
By
right?
the time you see this, it will have already
It will
gone
have
down
already,
the
the
street.
parade will already have gone by. Yes, it will have. So anyway, I just want to mention it because they did mention it here about the parade at the village council meeting. The village planning and zoning fees is a concern. Drew Benson made a presentation. Remember, he was the intern or assistant.
What was that again?
It's planning and zoning fees. In other words, what they charge contractors for fees to do project work, that kind of thing, or
so
development.
when they present a new project coming into the planning commission, there is a charge.
Right. Well, like the township, they take things under escrow. When a company comes in, they'll take an escrow fee, and then the various charges are applied to the escrow until, you know, the money is relinquished.
Got to fill the bank up again.
Yep, fill it back up. Or if there's too much money there, they'll refund it back to the contractor or developer.
Yay.
Well, the village has never done that, and of course, it was pointed out by the fire chief.
Never done what?
Never taken escrow.
Oh, okay.
They always sell the permits separately and so forth. And fire department fees, for example, have been going up and up. And so that's an issue too.
Fees?
Yeah, the fees. Because you know that Pete Schultz or his fire department go and they inspect the buildings or they inspect the properties and they determine, you know, if there's ingress or if there's not ingress, you know, and if they're
Not
designing.
to mention egress.
And egress too. That's a cousin to ingress, would be egress. And make sure that there's safety, enough room for safety roads to go back and
Sure.
for vehicles.
Does he present them with a bill at that time?
He presents the bill to the village at this point, And apparently the fees have not been accumulated,
So does that-
my knowledge.
So having presented it to the village, then that finds its merry way into the person's tax statement?
Well, no.
No?
In the past, they have not, and that's what Mr. Benson is pointing out. Like the township, they charge for everything that's done,
Right.
through escrow. And he suggested having an escrow program, such as, well, he didn't say township, but that's pretty much what they would be copying, because it's a good system,
Right.
the township has. And they never get stuck, the township never gets stuck for expenses along the line.
So how does the village currently bill?
They just buy permit, and if they have a hearing, they many times don't charge for the hearing cost that they have.
But
Planning Commission,
specifically the fire inspection?
yeah, the fire department, I think they just eat it.
Oh,
Yeah, and I don't think they should do that. And actually, Mr. Dolan pointed out that there isn't any monies that should be coming back to the residents, in terms of non-payments, and funding for these particular processes required by the developers.
okay.
And his point is well taken there, and it's pretty much the stance in which the township has as well.
Okay.
So what they did here is they decided to approve this and go forward with it. Mr. Dolan made a motion, which I'm not sure is really the right approach, but he said allow escrow accounts which are non-refundable.
Well, wait a minute. If you don't use the money in an escrow account, then that portion should be refundable, shouldn't it?
Now, there comes the catch.
Oh.
And that, in his statement,
Administrative
implies
fees?
that they keep the money for whatever purposes. And I would question the way that was made, that motion, but
Because once a project is done,
if there's money there,
and
it
there's
should
no
go back.
subsequent charges, whatever's in the kitty
Yeah,
still
the
should
township
go back
send-
to the person
yeah,
that put it in.
Yeah, the township, they send the kitty back, or lots of kittens, whatever
Sure.
they have left.
There may be an administrative fee charged,
Yeah.
but that's about it.
You're right. So anyway, that was the motion, but they did approve it, so that's what it is right now. They're probably making an amendment to it more than likely down the line, I would
Yeah,
think.
yeah.
It's a work in progress. Okay, police garage, lease agreement for the AA group. I don't know if you're aware that Alcoholics Anonymous uses that garage under a contract.
Yeah.
Well, it's roughly $3,000 per year, but they chose, in this particular case, to terminate the contract because they don't want additional people coming into that garage.
So that leaves them going to.
Well, actually, the money is in the budget. They Mr. Madur allotted for the reduction of $3,000 and allowed funds from another area to come into this, probably the general account more than likely, to compensate for it.
Okay.
So anyway, that being said, we'll talk more. We'll come back right
So,
after this. Huh?
basi-
This spring on OCTV, your home for all Wildcat sports.
Weekdays 4 to 6:30 and weekends 12:30 to 6:30.
OCTV Sports, where it's more than just about the score.
Welcome back to Minutes by Minute. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Dave Kenny.
And we are talking about what are we going to do with the Alcoholics Anonymous people. And what do you think?
Well, I think they should have a place to go if they've been kicked out of the garage. But we do have a community center out in the township.
A very nice community center,
Yes,
as
we
a matter
do.
of fact. At Seymour Lake.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. You guys check it out. They probably already have, more than likely, because I think they could see the fog coming in
I see.
and the train going out. Okay,
But if you haven't seen that facility, check it out.
right. The other issue that came up was delinquent special assessments to place on the 2018 tax rolls. Delinquents are usually put on that tax roll and written off, pretty much. And this is going to be the amount
Written off?
Yeah, well, it is kind of written off. If they pay it, then it comes back, and it's for sewer and water. It's roughly in the amount of $3,500 some odd dollars, is what they're talking about.
For how many accounts?
I don't know. There's a bunch.
Okay.
Take a note.
All right.
I knew that'd stop him, folks. All right. So then the next issue that came up was the rubbish contract rate review. GFL, of course, is the carrier for the village that picks up the trash. And they
Are they working off a contract right now they signed last year?
They're working off a contract, but I think it goes back somewhere around August where they actually had an increase in cost to pick up. And so far the village has not, I mean, they've been forking the bill for it. In other words, to the manner of about $2.48 per month roughly. And so what the motion was is to have a charge of $2
per account.
per account. $2.48.
I was going to say that can either going to break them or make them.
Yeah,
But
one
per account,
time
that's different.
Yeah, one time a charge of $2.48 per individual account that they have to cover the past bill, and Eric Dolan made that motion.
All right.
So anyway, you got to pay the bills, I guess. Permission to sell used lights, nor to know it or not. In the garage, police garage, they have a bunch of lights stacked in there from the past and just stored in there. And so the thought was, well, let's sell these lights to another municipality who might be interested.
They're incandescent, I take it.
I don't know. Could be.
Or sodium.
Might
or
be.
Fluorescent.
Would
or
be. Should be. I'm
maybe,
sure they're not
and
LED.
Maybe.
And probably not LED. But anyway, there's a site
Right.
that's available that they can put it out on for municipalities if they're interested, and might be a way to sell it and get extra money for it. That motion was approved. Okay, redesign village's municipal website. That's the next thing that came up. The village and DDA want to I was going to conspire, I was going to say, co-host website, because their website is really rather poor. And I think the police department will come under this as well.
So they choose a vendor, or are they looking for one?
Well, they've got 3 vendors that apparently they're looking at,
Okay.
but they're looking for a task force or a number of people from various organizations within the village that will check out these bids and individuals and their credentials and so forth and make a decision as to what will be done, as well as the content of what the website is going to be. Folks realize that the website is in need of upgrade for a number of years now. So who was chosen from the DDA board were 2 volunteers, and that would be myself and a young lady from the bank. And I have her name here somewhere. Oles, Sue Oles, okay, is the other person that will be working on this. And with the village, volunteers were Joe Frost and Eric Dolan.
Okay.
And I do know that who serves on this is Joe Madur, and also
How many
Mr.
people?
Benson.
How many people?
There's going to be 6, I believe,
Oh boy.
by the time it's done. Maybe, could be, I don't know, we'll see. Public comments, Mike Sowald stood up, police chief, and he says, no incident recorded about the drug deal that he was put on the slab and beat up with last meeting.
What was that about?
Well, that was, Mr. Dolan brought up that there was a drug thing going on at Oxford Lakes Park, and that a call was put into police, and it was 2 hours later before they got any response.
And
According to the police chief, there was no report issued, for that particular incident.
so no call was made.
No call was made. So he said that's what I
Check
have on
your
record.
facts first.
Yep. Well, so nothing else was said along that line. Rose Bema was concerned about roads being repaired within the village and want to know if engineering costs were set aside. It was pointed out that there is monies for engineering in the budget for that purpose, and there's a number of roads that they're going to be looking at. And of course, accepting the 2.5% that would be in franchise, not PEG fees, franchise fees, half of the 5%, would be involved in this. I think that's a matter of what, 30-some thousand, I think, is what it boils down to, right? Okay, Joe Madur, village manager report, clerk interviews. He's very active with that, and he says by June 4th, they should have recommendations available for the village council to review for a clerk. Good idea.
All right.
Council
Long
comments.
time no see.
Yeah, council comments. Joe Frost presented a letter where he had mentioned that he was, after the budget meeting, he was very upset and was going to leave the council. He said he would not leave the council
Good for him.
in the heat of moments. He's going to stay with it. Maureen Helmuth said that she hated to see Joe Bullen leave, and but a resolution should be made for Bullen because of his community efforts in the past. And she pointed out surely that there should be respect between council members and any other members of various groups representing the village or township.
So is Joe's resignation effective immediately?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yep. Dave Bailey just made a quick comment. You folks can see more by going to occtv.org or clicking on YouTube and checking out Oxford Television. Check Eric Dolan's comments in particular on occtv.org, what his commissioner comments were concerning the blowout that they had for the budget meeting and some other issues as well. And Suba Sardet, she made a final point of apologizing for allowing May 15th budget meeting to get out of control. So that took care of the village council meeting.
Ought to meet there.
Yep. Let's talk about Village Downtown Development Authority. Pete Schultz serves on the board. Sue Oles is on the board. Rod Charles, Nicole Ellsworth, Nancy Rosenstrater, Susan Schur, Suba Sardet, Elgin Nichols, and Dorothy Johnston, who was excused absent. Pledge, consent agenda was approved. Minutes for April 16th were approved. Reports, treasurer's report received and filed. Bills for $15,450.28. Get out your checkbook.
And they're still in good financial shape?
Good financial shape.
Good.
Approved. Let me see, code enforcement report, police activity approved. 4 executive directors report. Okay, finalized budget for the village manager and identification of a list of needs for the district, business directory for the district, and so forth. A lot of content in there, and if you folks again go to occtv.org and you can pick up on it. Old business DDA purchases, 1 logo canopy, 2 non-logo canopies, 4 tables, 24 banners to the tune of $3,444.85. And get this,
What?
all made in the USA. And speaking of that, what's coming up?
Well, these meetings are also in the USA.
Right, I hope.
On 6/4 at 7 o'clock, the Village of Oxford Zoning Board of Appeals, and like usual, check on it because sometimes they cancel them. And on 6/5, the Village of Oxford on 7 o'clock, Planning Commission, likewise. And on 6/11, there's 2 meetings. At 7 o'clock, the Oxford Township Zoning Board of Appeals, once again, the warning. And also at 7 o'clock, the Village of Leonard Council. And that's it.
That's it? That's all you got?
That's all she wrote. That's all I wrote.
Well, I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Dave Kenny.
Catch you next time on Minutes by Minute, right here.
See you then.